Hello, it's Gil here. Welcome to my first English video. So it's September now and uni has started. A lot of students might want to purchase a new laptop for their university years, be it for like 4 years or more. However, a lot of students might have questions about which laptop to purchase or like which specs should they go for. So today I'm here, I'd like to share some information about how to choose my laptop and some tips what to look for when choosing a laptop. So let's go for it. Okay, so the first thing you might want to look for is the processor of the laptop. So until today, there are two big companies which are producing the cores, which are Intel and AMD. So for simplicity, I'm going to use the Intel core range to explain a bit about the processors. Okay, so this is one of the models that you might encounter when purchasing a laptop. So the first two characters, it's actually the model of the chip, the processor chip. So it consists of an I and a number. Currently, there are 4 main numbers or 4 main models that exist in laptops, which are i3, i5, i7, and i9. So in general, the greater the number, the better the processing power of the processor. So the i3, i5, i7, i9 is similar to the AMD Ryzen 3, Ryzen 5, Ryzen 7, and Ryzen 9 series. So for a bit of comparison between the Intel chip and the AMD chip, make sure you have a look at the other videos as they might go more in-depth. So after the model number, you might see a 4 to 5 digit followed by a letter at the end. So the first 1 or 2 digit represents the generation of that particular processor. The newest version until today is the 10th generation, which is in this model. So the remaining 3 digits, it's not really that important, but at last there's a letter. This is the letter where it has a bit of different functions of the laptop. So in this model with a letter U, it represents a low power consumption. So there are lots and lots of definitions which I've shown here. Just a side note, the 10th generation processors has advanced features when compared to the previous generations. For example, it supports Thunderbolt 3, which allows even lower power consumption. It has a smaller chip, which also allows a smaller and slimmer laptop to be produced. And also, last but not least, it supports Wi-Fi 6, which is pretty essential for future use. The second spec you might want to look for is the memory. Memory can be classified into 2 types. One is the RAM, random access memory, and the second one would be the ROM, read-only memory. So for the RAM, it's the memory that allows you to access files really quick and reduces latency when you perform a high-speed task. For example, you can open a large number of applications at a particular time in a short period of time. RAM usually comes with a minimum of 8 GB nowadays. It can be up to like 32 or 64 or even more. It's really essential when you're performing multitasking on your laptop. The other one, ROM, is actually a large storage space in your laptop which allows you to store your stuff permanently. There are 2 types of ROM, which mainly are SSDs, solid-state drives, and HDD hard disk drive. Usually, up to today, laptops use SSDs rather than HDDs. SSDs are more durable. Although they are more expensive, they might not prone to wear and tear like HDDs. HDDs, on the other hand, it's a platter disk which spins along for fetching information in your laptop, or I mean in your computer as a general. Although they're cheaper, when they spin, it's prone to wear and tear, which allows less time for storage. So the next thing you might want to look for might not be as important as the processor and the memory, but actually they're the helper of the processors in terms of the image display. They're actually the graphics cards. So for graphics cards, same as the processors, there are 2 main companies which are producing them. They are NVIDIA and the Radeon. For the NVIDIA brand, commonly found would be the GTX series, RTX series, and you might find the older MX series. For the Radeon, they're the RX series, 600 series, 500 series, and so on. Of course, the number of things you need to look for doesn't end here. There are some other minor things you might want to choose before purchasing that particular laptop. For example, first, the design, like the color, the shape, or even the weight, which somehow affects or influences the portability of that particular laptop. Second is about the keyboard and the touchpad. Some people might prefer the number pad on the keyboard, and some people might prefer a larger touchpad, which enhances their working efficiency. Next would be the operating system. So it depends which system you're familiar with. Make sure you choose that particular system, like the OS system or the Windows system. Also, make sure to take note of the port that is contained in the laptop. For example, a USB-C port, a USB port, and a HDMI port would be regarded as necessary for me. So after sharing a bit about the specs to look for, you might wonder which particular laptop is actually suitable for me or which specs are relatively important to me. Well, it depends on how you use it. So for people with light to normal use, for example, surfing the net, video watching, and arranging uni stuff, personally, I guess a laptop with an i5 10th generation, 8GB of RAM, and 256GB of ROM would be sufficient for you to meet those purposes. For people who like to add more fun on it, for example like me doing some photo editing and video editing, I recommend laptops with at least an i5 10th generation processor, at least 16GB of RAM, 512GB of ROM if you want to save your videos and photos, and of course a dedicated graphics card, which at least can help you with your image display. I recommend the minimum requirement of the dedicated graphics card would be the GTX 1650 according to the current technological level. For people who are heavy gaming users, if you want to use a laptop for that, you need a laptop for at least an i7 10th generation processor, a 16GB of RAM, 512GB of ROM, and a really strong dedicated graphics card. For this purpose, I recommend the RTX series because it has additional features when compared to the GTX series, for example, the light tracing property. For your interest, the RTX 30 series is launching out soon, and the cost efficiency is actually better than what we have. So if you are okay to wait for a bit, I recommend you to wait for a bit. So that's it for today. Hopefully I give you a little bit of introduction about what to look for when you're purchasing a laptop. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And also, please comment down below, tell us what laptop you're using or which particular spec is relatively important to you when you're choosing a laptop. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Bye.